Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
It never dawned on me how much walking I used to do until I bought a house in the suburbs. Like when I'd say, I'm going for coffee, of course I was walking, but now it's like 3 miles and no latte's worth that. I find myself inviting people on walks with me like it's a scheduled activity. This morning, my neighbor asked me what I'm doing, and I actually said, I'm going for a walk with Nancy.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
What's up, everybody? It is Jay Scott. This is another episode of The Hook Rocks. Hope everybody's staying safe, staying healthy, doing their part to get rid of this lockdown. I know Illinois is doing really well, but parts across the country are not, unfortunately, which is just fucking up everything, I guess. And hopefully we get some live music. It looks like 2020 is kind of a coin toss at this point, and everything's getting pushed back to 2021. That sucks for people like myself because I go to about 20 to 30 shows a year, and I haven't been to one yet, and I'm itching to go, but you got to be safe before we all can enjoy a rock and roll show. I'd like to welcome my next guest. It's kind of a surreal moment for me growing up outside of Chicago. We have the singer, songwriter from the band Enuff Z Nuff, and now his solo work. We have Mr. Donnie Vie. What's going on, Donnie? How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling good. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, you and I connected a couple of weeks ago or last week, and I was glad that we did because, you know, growing up, like I said, outside Chicago, Enuff Z Nuff was always a presence in the local rock scene before you guys were on MTV, you know, whether it was the Thirsty Whale or whether it was WVVX 103.1. You know, this is part of my childhood. So I'm glad that you're doing the show and glad that you're on to have a conversation about your rock and roll journey.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We always start out the same way. Every time we have a new guest on the show, it's the same question all the time, and that's the essence of the podcast, which is just like every rock song has a hook that sucks you in. Every rock fan has a moment, whether it's a band, an album, a performance, or a song that hooked them on rock and roll. What was it for you?
That hooked me on rock and roll?
Yeah.
For me, it was just the sound that I heard when the first time I can remember being consciously aware of hearing music or even knowing what it was. It's just something hooked me immediately, and I never looked back. It was I think it was my little 45 record, Ticket to Ride, and I heard that, and I was like, everything about that just like, oh, that's me. I want to do that. I love that.
Yeah, definitely a great song. I mean, you can hear the Beatles' influence in Enuff Z Nuff and your solo material, and we're going to get to that too as well. But was there a moment after the Ticket to Ride song that you heard? You know, what was it? What was next? You know, what made you want to pick up a guitar? What made you want to sing? What made you want to write music?
Writing music didn't come till much later. Just kind of went in stages. The first thing was, I think I immediately wanted to be doing that to some capacity, like probably 4 or 5 years old. I think I immediately wanted to be doing that. I think it was within days that I probably had a piece of wood in my hands and standing there, emulating it and getting it down. It was pretty powerful for me. I wasn't the best childhood, and everything else up until then was kind of all over the place. And that's just something that reeled me in at that one particular frame of mind, and I never looked back. I just it just went in stages, like the next thing would be listening to more of it, obviously, and then you're getting the mindset of, I'm going to do this. And that from the earliest age, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to continue till I eventually was doing this myself. And so that just went in phases, and it was probably 14 or 15 when I decided, when I actually put the ideas together in my head, where the light bulb went on, and I actually wrote a song myself. And then that, I never looked back then. I never really dreamt of being a rock star. That wasn't really my thing that I was trying to be or striving for. What it was I wanted to do that, what I heard. You know what I mean?
Was there a particular song that connected with you that made you want to write a song? Because, for me, listening to music was a connection to help with, what kind of emotion that I want to connect with, what kind of day I was having or what kind of moment I was having in my life.
I think for me, it was a girlfriend situation that made me actually sit down and write my first song. I wanted to express something, and it just came very natural and very easy for me. The very first song I sat and wrote, it's just, that's what artistically you're doing, is you're expressing yourself if you're an artist. And that just came really quickly and easy and natural to me. Like I noticed a lot more natural and easier than it did to most people that I knew. And, but yeah, I think it was, of course, you want to make that's the ingredient to lots of songwriting is a girlfriend.
Absolutely. When you think back of, about your songwriting and the songs you wrote, I mean, they've got such an influence in, with power pop and very, a lot of hooks. Did you find that, once you wrote this song for your girlfriend, that it was a way to express yourself too? Like it was a way like, wow, I've got this outlet that maybe I can't say certain things, but I can sing certain things. Was that all part of it? Exactly.
I was able to, it was a lot easier for me to sit down and sing that. And I was a pretty shy kid. I don't know if I was shy, just scared of people and very intimidated and timid type kid. And so that whole thing, I was kind of able to, plus a little alcohol and stuff. I started drinking very young. That sort of helped me separate the two characters. And it's when I would sit down at the piano or pick up the guitar and I would start singing, once I get past the fear of that, it's all through still to this day. It's almost like a whole other alternate personality and alternate, and it's like somebody else kicks in that has confidence and that says things the way I want to say it. And a lot easier that way.
When you're writing music, right, and you're writing about an experience, you're trying to express yourself, you're connecting with a moment, whether it's a happy moment, whether it's a sad moment, whether it's an angry moment, and you're writing that. You're reliving the experience. And then you write it down, you put it down on a track, you release the song, and then you wait to see if your audience connects with you either the same way or they find some sort of connection with that song that you wrote. That's a very vulnerable time for any songwriter, because you're reliving a moment, you're expressing about it, and you're hoping that people find a connection with it. How was that experience for you?
That also was in two different periods of time. At first, that wasn't really my focus or even what I was concentrating on, or even was aware that would even was an issue or a thing. it was more the melodic thing for me. The not necessarily what I was saying, what I was singing, but that I was singing, the sound of what I was singing. You know, that's when I started out, you know, writing lyrics and stuff. It was, you can hear on the very early records and stuff, my lyrics aren't very intelligent, but the vowels and the syllables and all of that came to me pretty easily, came pretty naturally. I could hear the vowels and syllables, like what sound should be here, what sound should be there, kind of filling in the blanks. And as I got better at it, there was a little more depth to what I was actually singing, what I was saying. Cause like, well, our first record, that's obviously like your greatest hits up until that point. So there was a lot of songs before that, before the new thing and Fly on Michelle and all that stuff. I was already, you know, but it was still a very simple frame of mind as far as lyrically. And then after that record, and I noticed it a little bit with Fly on Michelle, that I was starting to get, people were like coming to me about the meaning of it and telling me experiences that they had lost somebody and that song meant a lot to them and things like that. And that's, I don't know if it was a conscious thing, but I started putting a little more effort into making the words, you know, a little more intelligent and you know, finding better, you know, like you listen to the words, a new thing. They're the most, I'm embarrassed still to this day. You know, if I had to actually write the lyrics down, it's like, oh my God, they're ridiculous, but the vowels and syllables and everything are there. Then I just started filling in the blanks and a little bit better and with a little more depth. And then that just started to grow with people, like really, you know, it used to be fan mail back then. You'd get like, you know, and I'd sit there and read all this stuff. And I started to see that it had impact and it had a lot of effect on people's lives as much as the melodies did and as much as the hooks did. And then I'm starting to see that a combination of the two was really effective and was really, you know, powerful to some people, you know, because you're kind of drawing them in with the melodies and the hooks and the sound of my voice and everything. But then there's what I'm saying, you know, it's always been very real, always been very authentic, and I've never did, you know, I want to rock and roll party every night, all this and that. I never really did those simple type lyrics. But it started to get more and more that way until, you know, maybe at the third record or maybe fourth record or so, I started to really put a lot of myself and a lot of what I was feeling and a lot of what I was thinking into the lyrics, and just kept getting better and better till like to the present day, this Beautiful Things record where I sit there and I focus maybe more energy, more thought, and more fine tuning and details into getting every last little word right. You know what I mean? So there's nothing where it's like I should have said this or I could have said that or this and that, where everything just, it means something. It all is, you know, it just is as close to perfect as I can get it, and still, you know, and so they have the most impact as far as expression and relating to people, and people be able to relate to the songs, and where I actually was kind of could almost dictate a vibe, somebody the way that they're feeling or something, you know what I mean? It's kind of you know, there's almost a science to it at this point, you know?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that you're talking about is your evolution as an artist. You know, you looking back at the early days, and that's something that I always appreciate, you know, as an artist that doesn't get comfortable, an artist that's always trying to stretch themselves and create things that maybe sound the same or sound similar, right? You know, everything sounds like Donnie Vie wrote it or the song sounds similar, but there's an evolution inside of that, right? There's, like you said, there's more of a focus on the lyrics become more personal. You're saying something
that's important.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't. And I always appreciate when someone, does that, because, as an artist, when you're playing similar songs or the same songs every time you perform, you have to have that outlet. And, the true fans, and I hate to use that term, but, the fans that really follow you, appreciate when you're connecting with yourself personally inside yourself, and you're allowing other people to peek behind the curtain. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's something that you've been able to do throughout your career, especially with the last album, the last single you did. And I think that's very important for artists to do.
Well, I think personally, as far as evolving and growing, I'm very hard on myself when it comes to the creative process. As far as, I feel like that I just can't allow myself to even put like what other people would consider filler on any of my shit. Because, and thank God and all of the powers that be that I get so many of these song ideas, and where I'm not ever repeating myself, I'm not ever redoing what I did. It's always something new, and I never feel comfortable or satisfied with, okay, I'm the best I can be. I never, even at this point right now, like my last record, I feel that's the best thing I've ever done by far. It's where everything just kind of feels perfect about it. But I still now, my mindset is I still need this now to grow. It's the next thing I do will be different from that thing, but it's me, and you can tell it's me, and it's remnant of me, but will be the next level, the next phase of what I do. And but I never each time I do something, I'll look back at the last time and think, well, now I'm finally getting it. I always still feel like I'm just finally getting it, where I actually think that I really know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And like I said, as far as like the connecting with people and things like that, there's something tells me, the same source that I think gives me these ideas and the way to express myself, and is also kind of helping me out as far as that goes, and is to connect to people and to connect to fans and friends and stuff with the messages. And I think that there's a greater good or a higher purpose than just making rock and roll music. So for what I'm doing, I'm just kind of have to believe that, or like to believe that. It makes it a lot easier when you're still broke after all these records. It's good to kind of, maybe not a rationalization, but a justification. It can justify the ends justifying the means, and that now it's at the point now where actually my real purpose for doing it is for that purpose, is to keep connecting to these people and to keep up this job detail that I've kind of feel like I've taken on. That the people let me know that I couldn't have survived this without something that you'd said, or you got me through all of this, and I used to think to myself, well, how could a song or something like that have that much impact on somebody, where when they say that I was going to kill myself till I heard this, or this got me through this, or I really related. And that's where, putting myself completely out there and not hiding anything and not being anything phony, just being 100% me did benefit me. A lot of ways it didn't. I forgot to keep secrets. I forgot to hide some of the shit that I should have hidden. But in the end, it transmitted to a group of people very heavily, very effectively. And now that's kind of like my mindset, is to try to be consciously to be able to still do that for people.
You know, we're going to get into the album that you released last year, Beautiful Things, and then the new single that you did, All My Favorite Things, which I love. My question to you is, you know, having you mentioned what you just talked about with, you know, people connecting with you and people telling you that I may have killed myself if I didn't hear that song. You've had some challenges, a lot of challenges over the last decade or so, you know, and how did, you know, was there music that connected with you that helped heal you to help get you out of what was happening in your life?
No, I'd have to say it's more the creating it that does that for me. I really don't listen to, I probably should, but I really don't listen to much else. Because when I have time for the music, you know, and when I can get in the mindset for that, which is not all the time anymore, you know, I'm older now and I've been doing it a long, long time. And sometimes it's not so easy for me to gear up and have that exuberated energy to sit down and start and do this like I did. But when I do, and I get into that frame of mind, it's more, I'm more, you know, more of a TV buff. I'll sit and binge watch programs and things, series and things like that. But when it's time for the music, things like that, I think it helps me as much as if somebody says that helped me, that song helped me. Well, that helps me. It's helping me too while I'm doing it. That's what's getting me through things, you know.
Having the outlet, you know, to, like we talked about earlier, you know, to connect with those emotions inside you and express yourself can be therapeutic in your process. Yeah,
it makes me feel a sense of purpose. And when somebody thanks me so much for this or that, I mean, all I can say back is thank you. Thank you for letting me feel this way and feel this sense of purpose and feel worth something, you know, and that's my incentive and my drive to pick up the guitar or to turn on the recorder and to go and do it again. Let's do it again, you know, and well, how can you know, it turns into almost like a responsibility or a duty, but with fans, I don't think they realize is they're doing it for me as well, you know, by me letting me do that for them.
Was there a fear with you, you know, when you're creating the newest material that you've done, and you know that's after all the things that happened and all the dark places you went to? Was there a fear that you wouldn't be able to do it because of all the things that, you know, maybe you were on or that you were doing at the time when you wrote some other music? Was there a lack of confidence in yourself, or did that always, you know, stay with you?
Not when it comes to this. I've usually, when it comes to this, what I do here artistically and creatively, I'm pretty secure and pretty confident, because when it's time to do it, the songs or whatever it is, the energy that drives my ship tells me it's time to do this, and I know when those things are telling me and the lights are turning on and it's saying, okay, here's your next song, here's your next idea, this and that. I'm like, you know, a huge fan of the songs as well, you know, a huge fan of I don't know if I'm as much a fan of the way my voice sounds anymore. You know, I'm kind of sick of it, but a big fan of that, and pretty confident knowing that this will go well, and what isn't given to me, I know, just doing the athletics of it all and working it out and doing the work and filling in the blanks. I'm pretty experienced at it, and I've got my methods of doing things, and I'm pretty confident there. I'm not the most confident person as far as a human being goes. Pretty, you know, not very secure, and haven't been able to find a lot of love for myself throughout my life, and that's obvious in the way that I've treated my body and treated everything, and kind of just took the attitude that I'm not here on this planet for me. There's obviously another reason for me to be here, and like a sacrificial type thing. And but when it comes to the music and stuff, I feel very confident, And like I could just tell you, well, yeah, I'll probably write some stuff, in a couple of months, and I'll just tell you right now, you can count on it being great. Otherwise, I won't do it. Otherwise, I won't put it out. If it's something, of course, I have ideas and things that aren't finished or aren't worked out, or some I don't think are as good as. So then I don't finish those, or I don't use them, or put them away for a while. And I make sure that I'm very hard on myself. I make sure that every single thing I do, it's got to be good. That the fans of what I do, that they're going to love it.
It sounds like, with what you just said about self-worth and about, the confidence in making music, it sounds like your relationship with music has essentially saved you. We all go through challenges. You've gone through them. They're well documented. The past is the past, but without music, that's been your saving grace. That's been your outlet for you to live your life, to have some sort of purpose, to connect with your fans.
Right.
It's amazing what that has done, since that time you heard Ticket to Ride when you were a kid. When we look at the new music, you just released a new single a few weeks ago, All My Favorite Things, which is a great song. If my listeners out there are looking for some great Donnie Vie music, some new music to listen to, this is a good place to start, because we're going to get into his album that he released last year too as well. And then, there's also that new single he did with Enuff Z Nuff. But when I was, hearing this, All My Favorite Things, again, it sounds like you, but it's an evolution of you. It's like, this is where you're at in your life. You're now comfortable in your own shoes, is the kind of vibe I got from the song.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and like I said, I have to be able to get excited about it, to be excited about it, and I wouldn't be excited about it if it just felt like the same old thing. You know what I mean? If it felt like I've done this before, or I'm just sitting down to make a record now. Just to make a record. Like some people, it's like, we got to make a record. We got to get to work and this and that. Well, I can't work that way. If I'm not feeling it and these things aren't coming to me, then it's pointless for me to sit down and try to do that, because I wouldn't. If it's not exciting me, how am I going to excite somebody else?
Of course, there's the evolution of you as an artist. Was the creative process in this song and the album that you did last year different? Was there some changes that you made, or how did that all come about?
No, it's basically the same that I've done since the early days of 4-tracking and stuff. Originally I'd started out with like a boombox and a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and when I first started, actually, I wasn't aware that I was multi-tracking at the time, but I was. Just me with my ideas and what I hear and a vision that I had. Once I met Chip, he fast tracked me from a really beginner's amateur level of doing what I do now to kind of being able to hang with the pros, and but then that really quickly, I fell into that naturally, and it all came to me, and it all made a lot of sense to me. And basically, it's throughout my entire musical creative career and life, it's been the same process where, regardless of what it says on the record, so it says who wrote this or who did this and that, you don't need to pay any attention to any of that, because that's not true. What it is I'm these ideas given to me, and I present them, and I sit there by myself, and I come up with the vibe of the song, the arrangement of the song, the beat to the song. It's like, now I'm doing absolutely everything, I've programmed a million drum beats. I've used a million chords, everything like that, but it's the same process. It's just when they come to me, the song tells me what it wants to be, and I listen to it and follow it. And when I'm rubbing against the grain, it'll tell me that I'm rubbing against the grain. And when I'm doing it right, and it's the same process. It's always been. It's just new ideas, new songs, and like I said, I let the thing tell me what it wants to be. So if it's going to be a poppier song like the Beautiful Things record, or it's going to be a heavier song like the thing I did on the new Enuff Z Nuff record, that's what the song told me it wanted to be. And there hasn't been that much contributing efforts from anyone else into that process throughout all of the songs that I've done with Enuff Z Nuff or solo. There's just maybe a camaraderie or somebody being there as a partner, just keeping you company. It's then to be doing it, feeling alone at it all. And I've felt very alone most of my life, even around a lot of people. But it's the same process, just like just depends on the state of mind or the frame of mind that I'm in. And I had reached a point after I did a record called The White Album. That was right after I was out of Enuff Z Nuff, and for the last time. And that mindset was that it started as one song. I'm going to do one final song that says what I want to say about, and I'm walking away from all of this. I don't feel there's any more point or purpose in what I'm doing anymore. And that turned into what ended up being a double record, and then, and I reached completely the epitome of my rock bottom as far as my personal issues and professional issues and everything. It just dwindled so badly that I was just in such bad shape that I couldn't even focus on music anymore. All I was focusing on was another day of miserable existence. You know what I mean? And so that all just, it's like the spirit that was in my body, the little driving force that helps me create, helps me do this and that, it left my body. It was just, I couldn't even perform my songs. I couldn't even sing them. I wasn't me. I look at pictures. I don't see myself in my pictures. Everything was gone. And so they went through a couple of years of some heavy rebuilding and, like this big recovery program and all this stuff went into. And then once I was in better shape, nothing, not an idea, not one song idea, nothing came to me in like 2-3 years, which was very unusual because it never has not in the whole time since the first time I started writing or playing. I've never lost that. And all of a sudden it was gone. And so I questioned, am I going to do this anymore after, once I was all feeling better about things and had a lot more positive attitude, like, let's go back into this, now I've done all that. Now I've got myself in a position where had I been in long time ago, things would have all gone differently and this and that. Now let's see what I got. And, but I didn't, that creative little character that in me wasn't there yet. And then I kind of, was, I don't know if you want to call it praying, but just talking to the higher energies, higher powers to be, and as soon as I did, and as soon as I was ready, that thing turned right back on in a big way. And that whole Beautiful Things record, the songs and the writing and everything, they just came like one day after the next, and I Could Save the World was the very first song in 2-3 years when I even picked up a guitar or sang anything out loud. And that song just came and I immediately went and tracked it and demoed it. And then the next one and the next one. And I kind of forgot what the hell this question was, but so hopefully my answer was in there somewhere.
No, it was. I guess my follow up to that answer is: was there a fear that it wouldn't come back? When you've been making music for decades, and all of a sudden, it's turned off and it's not coming back on. There has to be, the insecurities that you talked about in your life. They have to start working against you, and you're praying, you're hoping it comes back. Was there a fear that it wouldn't?
There was more of a curiosity than a fear, because I was in a state of mind then where I'm a lot more accepting of everything and feeling that there is more than meets the eye out there. There's things that are happening as they should happen. You know, we all have a movie that we can't go, like you go rent a movie or something. You can't change what happens in that movie. You can't change the ending of it. I think that we kind of all have something like that. And so I was kind of going with the flow, and what presents itself is what I'll do. I really didn't have a fear of that because like I said, I wasn't in that mental state for so long. And then when I was, and I went to look for it again, it was just a matter of a couple of days of that curiosity and that asking, is this going to happen again? Am I going to be able to do this again like I used to? And immediately the answer was, it came back in a big way, the answer. And so there wasn't any really time where there was more time, I would think, where I personally felt like I didn't want to do it than there was where I was wondering if I could do it.
How has this pandemic affected your creativity? You know, some people have struggled with it because they're not doing much these days, so it's hard for them to be inspired. But, you know, I look on, you know, your YouTube page and you're doing a lot of things. Has it been good for you? Have you been able to be creative?
Yeah. Well, I've gotten a little lazy. I was just had a conversation today. I was talking to an old friend who used to be in the band, Johnny Monaco. I was having a conversation with him today and just kind of telling him, you know, it's like, I've never been in a situation like I am now where it's like almost complete peace of mind, where I have everything that I need or anything and like my whole life has been one big worry and something hanging over my head constantly. Every day I was one move or one step away from total ruin, you know, just being down and out and not able to recover. And now that's changed. I have the luxury to be able to afford that if I don't feel like doing anything, that I don't have to. And I have a nice, secure and happy environment and people around me and, you know, family and everything that I want or need. And, like, I'm not a greedy person. I never cared about being rich and famous or any of that stuff. I just didn't want to have to worry. And now I don't. So, I got with this pandemic, we were just gearing up to, get out. What I haven't done yet is get out live and, do the physical work, you know, where you got to get into shape and you got to get out there and do all that hustling and put yourself out there on a stage. And, you know, that takes a lot for you know, I mean, at least an artist like me, because that's not my natural or desire. That's not what drives me, is to be a rock star, you know? And so that's the hardest work for me, is to get the motivation and the incentive, as where, you know, Chip in the old days, Chip would just, it was happening whether I wanted to or not. So it would go to work. And now it's, we were just getting ready to do that, putting in the work, the rehearsing and all of that stuff. And then the pandemic hit and the dates were postponed and canceled and stuff. And I kind of, got a kind of a lazy vibe, a lazy attitude. And I've got probably 15 or so really great, strong songs demoed and sitting there already. So it's like, there's no pressure on me to have to write something yet until it comes. And, like I said, when it presents itself and it says, hey, you know, you need to bring me into the world, I do. But I've kind of been lazing out and hasn't really affected me creatively. Like I said, when they come, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what's going on. But, yeah, we were just talking today of like, you know, I don't I feel like doing this. And some days I just rather be doing other things like, you know, fixing this or redoing this or anything that other than basically all of the things that I'm supposed to be doing. And, so no, but the pandemic hasn't really affected me as far as that goes, except that it gave me the excuse or whatever to where I could, you know, postpone that hard work and all that effort that's going to have to go into getting out and performing live.
The Enuff Z Nuff single, Strangers in My Head, it was released a few days ago. How did that come about? Because there was a lot in the press about the friction between you guys. There was a lot of things that were said. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's a song with you on it with Enuff Z Nuff. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I can't believe that's happened. How'd that happen?
That was just the whole thing with him has been eating away and eating away and eating away. That I've talked about it now so much, and I've gone out and blasted it out, and where I was just screaming at the top of the mountains of how fucked and everything it is, and what's happened to me, and what's still being done, and violation and everything, and which I'm not going to go getting all into right now, but it was really every day, every other day, there was something new coming about where I can't believe he's doing this now. I can't believe he's doing that now. And just with no consideration or ethics or morals regarding me or what's right or what's wrong. And it's killing me. And everybody would tell me, you know, Dave, don't worry about it. You know, you're better off without it. And just what you're doing now is great. And just, that's the way to get back at him and this and that, you know, just keep doing kicking ass and stuff. But you can say that, but it was easier said than done for me. And then the pandemic kind of gave a little bit of an excuse when he texted happy birthday or something. I went from just blasting and telling what a piece of shit he is everywhere to happy to hear from him a little bit. You know what I mean? And we started talking. It wasn't about any of those issues yet. It was touching base with my old friend who I'd spent most of my life with. And that felt good. It felt a lot better than hating him. Loving him felt better. But so I really put it out there. And like I said, a lot of everything I do is nowadays is for the purpose that I'm here, is for the fans. I just felt that the new records and everything that he's presenting as Enuff Z Nuff, which I still could never believe he would do that, is devaluing the integrity and everything that it stood for, that it did have going for it. And for the sake of that, just like your children or something, you just see them, you want to see them get better. You want to see that to heal, you know, and so that desire and the desire to give the fans what they wanted to hear and this and that, and feel better about just to be able to have more peace of mind with overpowered common sense and logic and reason, and of getting back involved with that. I have a few songs that are pretty heavy, you know, that I didn't use, that are, like I said, I write and I just keep evolving and there's more stuff, and they were there. And so I said, hey, you know, maybe we should, you know, life is short. Nothing is promised. You know, tomorrow's not promised. If we're ever going to do anything together, maybe now it would be the time, and before somebody's gone or this and that. And so I just wanted so much hoped, outweighed sense and reason. And so I went and put myself back into that situation, and I had a song already written and it was already demoed and stuff. He heard it. And, you know, I said, you know, why don't you put this on your new record so the fans get something that they're used to hearing, that they loved about the band, instead of this shit. You know, you still got all that. And the attitude that came back was really, that doesn't even matter to him. All that matters to him, obviously, is what he wants to do and how it feels to him. And so, you know, I contributed the song in hopes that there's something could grow from that, you know, from that little seed. And all efforts were in vain. You know, there was just no negotiating that got accomplished. Nothing got accomplished except that it confirmed the fact of that this isn't going to happen anymore. And there's nothing I can do. And I'm not wrong about this. I'm absolutely right about this. And it is the right move to not be doing that anymore. And now now it's just a matter of keeping my mouth shut about it and just moving forward and not concerning myself or paying any attention to what he's doing and what's happening to that band, and kind of cutting it loose and just being proud of knowing that I did all that. And the ones that really are fans and it really matters to, they know who did all that. And just kind of living with that without getting too discouraged. It gets very discouraging and it brings me down too much. So it was a good opportunity to kind of either bring closure or the possibilities of, can this happen? You know what I mean? And the answer was more closure.
You mentioned, I think it was last week, that it probably is the last time you guys will collaborate. For Enuff Z Nuff. And I was just going to ask you.
There was no collaboration though. I mean, I already had this song demoed and everything, and then I look and I see it on. He didn't even push it. Didn't even push that one. And then I look and see the songwriting credits on it, and just like all the rest of them says, "These enough." And I'm like, what did you write on this? You didn't write anything except "There's enough" at the end of the thing. And so there really wasn't a collaborating effort. It was nice to hear his bass on something again. And we didn't even actually do it in the same room together. Sent it to him. He played his bass and sang his harmony parts on it. Sent it back, and I sent it out to Vegas to my buddy Vinny. The guy played drums and did everything for Dissonance, and he played the drums and mixed it and everything. And so we weren't even working together. It really was no kind of collaboration or anything. It's just one of my songs made it onto his record, and I almost feel a little bit foolish and a little bit duped that ended up happening. When it's like I'm almost asking for a favor by can I be on your record or something? And it's kind of humiliated myself, but it did a lot for me to bring closure and to bring the state of mind that, hey, this isn't going to happen anymore. I am right about this guy. I am right about this situation. Now get this out of your head and move on.
And it also helps too that all the questions that you had about possibly connecting again have been answered. So you kind of know where you stand, and you kind of know, what the game is right now. So, also you've got some wonderful material from your last album and the new single that also has to give you the confidence that, hey, you know what? My thing is going on right now. My new music is happening, that I don't need to be in a negative situation anymore.
Yeah, it's actually better for my creativity, and it's better for the end result that I'm able to now not have to work within the restraints of that situation. That did really handcuff me in a lot of ways, as far as like the production sound of a lot of the stuff that I've done through all those years, where you can hear me just wanting so badly to do different production and different kind of orchestration and stuff, but it wasn't, I kind of was a low man on the totem pole in that situation. I don't know why, I guess because of my personal habits and issues and stuff, but I'd always delivered. I've never failed to deliver. I never missed a show or did a shitty show or didn't come through with a great record or any of that stuff. But what was I saying? But as far as creative wise, I'm so much happier and so much at ease, and I think it's so much better for the creative process and the end result doing it this way, because I've always wished and wanted to be doing it this way, and now that I am, why would I be a glutton for myself for more punishment, except for boils back to never having much love for myself, and maybe self-saboteur.
Well, that's a big thing too with your recovery, right? I mean, now you want to be positive. You want to surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with people that make you feel good, and be in good situations for yourself. And, the situation better than anybody. Being in Enuff Z Nuff or dealing with Chip maybe wasn't a good situation for you, and maybe that helped you go to the depths that you were in, or maybe that assisted you in the depths that you went to. And now that you don't have to deal with that, you know, you can create the beautiful music that you did on your Beautiful Things album. And then the latest single that you just did, I mean, when I hear the new album, I hear Bowie, I hear the Beatles, I hear Cheap Trick, I hear that power pop vibe that you're known for. And, you know, for me, I've been in situations too where, you know, someone's behavior or someone's presence has caused me to do things that I don't want to do, you know, bring out the worst in me. And it happens. It's just a fact of life. It's human nature. But if you can get away from that and then find yourself with other people and find yourself doing things that make you happy, it makes yourself happy. It makes yourself more comfortable in your own shoes, like I mentioned, you know?
Yeah, my own self-esteem, I've always owned up and always took it, you know, my shortcomings and what I did wrong and what the issues were with me and what was so difficult with me about everything. What I wasn't able to do was, you know, and I felt like it's very knowledge. You know, people have a lot of knowledge and know about my reputation as where it's almost to some people and to some groups and some crowds that was it was a lot larger of an issue than it actually was. So I kind of had to see for myself, well, now I'm not like that, and to see if I could right the wrongs, and if that was all on me, like some people say, well, then let me see if I, you know, and now in this situation can do it differently, and just to, you know, just for my own self-esteem, because, you know, I doubt myself all the time, and I don't want to feel like, you know, the thing that's been said about me and this and that. I don't know if that's true or, you know, but I had to see, you know, I had to see if I could right those wrongs. I had to take it and own up to all of my shit and see, well, if I do it according to, you know, how everybody else would like me to do this, will it make a difference? And it didn't.
And, you know, of course, you know, with the new music that you have out and the creative process that you have now, and that has to help. That has to be, I mean, like I said, you know, the new album that you released in the fall of last year is a tremendous album. You know, I mean, it wasn't on my radar initially, but it's something over the last couple of weeks I've been listening to nonstop. I mean, it's just got its hook, it's power pop, it's got those influences that you talked about, and it's a personal record too. I mean, there's a lot of reflection in that as well, and as a fan, I appreciate that. As a music fan, and watching you grow from, you know, the challenges that you had, I'm happy you're back. I'm sure all your fans are happy you're back making great music.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be, you know, be doing it again and reconnecting with the fans. You know, I've been getting a lot more hands-on and personal with the fans and putting myself out there and you know, it's I'm very real and very tell it like it is. Sometimes you don't like what I say, sometimes you do, but I know my heart is good, and people confirm that to me all the time, and so I need that. And as far as the musically goes, creative wise, like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff already. I'm not worried too much about that. Yeah, I think the Beautiful Things record is the closest thing to actual magic that I've ever experienced in my life. You know, so you know, you see these illusionists, these magicians and stuff, but that I experienced things through making that record that were just like, seemed like little miracles here happening all the time. It's like when things would click and I'd be like, holy shit, you know, and that's me, you know, isn't that, how cool is that, you know? And you know, it's just all a matter of, you know, finding that when that frame of mind and when that energy comes and goes, and to, as I'm older and stuff now, obviously my body and my everything is beat up, and you know, and I'm old, but when it comes, you know, it's powerful, and yeah, I'm curious, and I can't wait to see what what God gives me next.
What is next for you? I mean, that was my next question. I mean, obviously you've got the single out, you know, you're doing a lot of stuff on YouTube. The album came out last fall. What is, I mean, obviously 2020 is an unknown how that's all going to play out, but what do you envision next for Donnie Vie?
Well, I know a lot of people really want to see me play out live again. I haven't played out in like 5-6 years. I've just done one performance in all of that time. And it was really well received, even though it didn't go out over very well as far as the band was. There was everything went wrong, but it was really well received. And so I know that people really want to see that. And that's, like I said, that's the way it works with me. I want to give them what they want, and that fills the hole for me. Not able to do that right now kind of lets me off the hook a little bit, but also I'm like a little bit antsy because, like I said, I'm getting older, and you never know what can happen. I almost died, last year, and I don't want that to happen without kind of completing the picture, and letting anybody down. So I'm thinking probably within not too long, maybe within the month or something, I'm going to try to do a stage it or something like a live online concert where I'll prepare it well and have make some backing to like the best of the stuff that I can think that would be what people would want to hear, and do a nice live concert, but it'll have tracks with it. I'll perform it too, and do it. It's kind of a live concert, it's just without the other guys, and see how that goes. And if it's successful and people like it, and it made sense to do it, and it felt good to me, then I can continue to do that, and until it's time to and hope that I will survive and live, till the days where it's time to go out and play again, and to see how that goes. There's a lot of cool things I could do if that works that way. I could do the Strength record one day and just one show, or I could do this record in one show, or just these songs, just the ballads, just the pop hits, all these different things. So I got to test the waters and get my foot in the water and see how that works, and see how it feels, see how it feels to them, see how it feels to me, and take it from there.
Well, Donnie, I thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you doing the Hook Rocks podcast. It's been a great conversation, and I love the new music, and I can't wait for more.
Thank you very much. I got another single coming out probably next month. It's a song called Party Time, and it'll be coming out on a 45 record, the old vinyl on a 45 record, and obviously you'll get a digital download with it, but that's next. And like I said, the virtual concert. And thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for this interview, and these questions were a lot different than I'm used to doing. A lot of times it's the same old interview, and today I was like, here we got to go. What am I going to say again? And this and that. And you made that really easy and very pleasurable for me.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been a fan of you guys since I was younger. Like I said, the days of Thirsty Whale, the days of WVVX 103.1. You guys were a presence in Chicago. In fact, I used to live with a rock and roll band that opened up for you guys a couple times. So, I was privy to the backstage area when you guys were playing. So it was all, like I said, this is kind of a surreal moment for me. And, I'm glad you did it. I'm glad we were able to talk about your new music. For anyone interested, go check out the new single, All My Favorite Things. Check out the new album released last fall, Beautiful Things. If you like the Beatles, Bowie, Cheap Trick, if you like power pop, you're going to love the album. Great songwriting, great tunes. Once again, Donnie Vie, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. If you think of anything in the future that you want to know or you want to say, or you need somebody to fill a little hot air, a little space, just you got my number now, and you can give me a call, and we'll set it up.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime, Donnie.
Thank you, sir.
Well, once again, everybody,
thank you to the fans. Thank you to the fans too.
Absolutely. Well, that's Donnie Vie. I'm Jay Scott. This is the Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy. we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
It never dawned on me how much walking I used to do until I bought a house in the suburbs. Like when I'd say, I'm going for coffee, of course I was walking, but now it's like 3 miles and no latte's worth that. I find myself inviting people on walks with me like it's a scheduled activity. This morning, my neighbor asked me what I'm doing, and I actually said, I'm going for a walk with Nancy.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company coverage provided in service by affiliates and third-party insurers.